Tom turns in his trophies. Beale Street could be coming to Clarksville, and Sleepy Joe finally rips off the mask. These stories and many more on Headlines with Denny the Bull. Welcome to Headlines. I'm your host, Denny the Bull. I'm joined in the Office Now studio with the guy who calls sneaking up behind you and ruining your selfies an atom bomb. He's Mr. Adam Joseph.
Yes, hello. Good evening. Thank you for having me again. I love being here.
Good to see you again, despite being a lightweight. Her punches packed more pounds than Ivan Drago. Yes. With Headlines, it's the Regal Red Pill Jen.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Yeah. Woo.
As always, please like, share, and subscribe. With every like on this video, the price of gas drops down another penny. And by the way, when the price of gas goes up like this, don't be falling for that, hey, you want some free gas joke? Because you might get farted on. That's what happened to me.
It's called crop dusting.
Doggone wife, can't believe she did that. So it's time for this week's pop culture deep thinking question. Adam.
Yes.
Who are the greatest guitarists that ever lived?
Man.
Now you got Clarksville's own Jimi Hendrix. There's Clapton, Jimmy Page, Eddie Van Halen, Keith Richards.
Yes.
Come on, Adam.
Oh man, Angus.
B.B. King.
Angus is really good.
Chuck Berry.
Yeah,
Slash. Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Stevie Ray
Dave Gilmour of Pink
yes.
Floyd.
Yes.
There's tons of them. There's some really popular ones like
I can't pick them because they're all good.
How about Prince?
Prince was really good. Yes.
Richie Sambora, The Edge from
who also married Heather Locklear.
Now you're just naming guitarists.
Yeah, I know, but I'm talking about the greatest one. And here's why I'm bringing this up.
Okay.
A recent poll asked who are the top 25. And nowhere on the list, nowhere to be found, was either George Harrison or John Lennon. Now, these are, Jen, if you don't know, these are the guitarists for the Beatles.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
The freaking Beatles.
Yeah.
I mean, neither one was on the list.
From
I look
Liverpool.
young, but I know who they
That's
are.
insane.
Yeah.
27 number one hits, 40 top 40s, by far more than any other band in the history of music. And they're completely and utterly taken for granted.
Oh yeah.
It's because their music isn't technical enough. Look at Stevie Ray Vaughan, for example. I mean, it was very technical. I mean, the Beatles. I love the Beatles, but it's just it's power chords.
This is what happens when you make it look too easy.
Yeah.
This is what happens when it's just assumed that you're going to be great all the time so we can focus on everybody else who's great. And this bothers me. We need to stop taking greatness for granted.
Agreed.
Well said.
And speaking of someone I never take for granted, it's time for our weekly Rushmore segment. Now, Jen, who are the finalists, according to our viewers, for the NBA Mount Rushmore that we had last week?
Okay, so according to our viewers, we had Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, and Larry Bird.
Okay, Jen, do you have any idea who any of those people are?
I do, actually.
You do?
I do. Mostly from, well, actually, I met Larry Bird, but mostly from pop culture references. And who doesn't know Michael Jordan?
Right. From what I heard, Kobe far and away was number one on the list. So, all right, this week, we're asking you, the Bull Core, viewers of Headlines with Denny the Bull, who should be on the Mount Rushmore of the greatest TV sitcom stars of all time? Ooh. Now, you can't cheat. You can't just say the cast of Seinfeld. You have to say Jerry Seinfeld or maybe Tim Allen.
Yeah.
You know, Adam, maybe you go way back to the birth of the sitcom. You put Lucille Ball.
Yeah, there you go.
Or Jackie Gleason.
So it can't all be from the same show. You
right.
need to pick and you need
That's
put
right.
some
You can't
effort.
put the cast of Cheers.
Michael P.
Yeah.
Keaton.
You'd have to put Ted Danson.
Gotcha. So put some effort. Put some thought into it.
Put some thought. It could be Dick Van Dyke or Mary Tyler Moore, right?
Dick Van Dyke was actually one of my favorite shows growing up as a kid.
How about Bill Cosby?
Yeah.
You kind of got to put him on there, right?
Yeah. Huxtable. Yeah.
Well, how about Archie Bunker, Carol O'Connor?
I was just thinking of Carol O'Connor.
Yeah. So comment your comment in the comments, and you'll be considered for an exclusive chance to join me, Denny the Bull, in wolfing down egg rolls at Wicked Sandwiches on Cumberland Drive. Now, Jen, do we have any fan mail?
We do.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right. So Chuck from Clarksville asks, Denny, why do you wear Hawaiian shirts every show? Are you Hawaiian, or is this cultural appropriation?
I'm actually from a small town in Oklahoma, Jen. We lived on County Road 6. My family were cattle ranchers, as you can kind of gather. We used to drive 10,000 head of cattle across the Red River from Tulsa to Texarkana. I grew up in the saddle with a 10-gallon hat covering my face, even though my face was only about 5 gallons. And I used to dream of being somewhere tropical. As you might imagine, with all that dust there in Oklahoma, out on the range, we were Okies. And I wanted to go where the sun and the ocean would sparkle. And my daddy, he knew he couldn't deliver on that dream. So instead, he took me down to Woolworth's, and he said, he bought me a Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah.
And he said, son, this is as close as you're ever going to get to Hawaii.
And here we are.
So I kept that shirt. Bought me some more over the years. They had to make them special on account of me being 6'4". They'd see me and they'd say, you look like a big Hawaiian bull. And that's why they call me Denny the Bull.
There you go.
So it's time for headlines, news you can use with Red Pill Jen. I know that's why you're all here, so bring it on, Jen. What we got?
Here we go. Mission Impossible and Top Gun star Tom Cruise returned his 3 Golden Globes to the Hollywood Foreign Press Association this week. The move comes amid growing controversy surrounding the organization for its lack of diversity, specifically for the fact that it has no black members, along with ethical questions related to financial benefits for some of its 87 members.
I heard that Bill Cosby tried to return his Golden Globes, and they said, now we're good.
Yeah,
you go ahead and keep those.
them.
Yeah.
Jen, what movies did Tom Cruise win these Golden Globes for?
Surprising ones, actually. Jerry Maguire, Born on the 4th of July, which was an excellent film,
Yes.
and Magnolia.
I like Born on the
Yes.
4th of July a lot.
Yeah.
That was the Ron Kovic story. I heard that Tom prayed to Xenu, and this was all Xenu's idea. Xenu is very woke,
Yes.
and Xenu said, take those trophies back.
Yeah.
Is
Actually-
that like a Scientology reference?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, okay.
Arnold Schwarzenegger said he will be returning all the Golden Globes he's never won over the years, too.
Yeah?
Yeah. So Tom Cruise, worth $500 million, is returning his Golden Globe trophies as a signal that he stands with the black community.
I guess that's the intention.
And they say that when he returned them, Adam, he actually stepped over like 6 homeless black men who were sleeping on the Walk of Fame, and he said hi to one of them.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, so that's cool.
So gracious.
I don't mean to bust Tom's chops. He's actually a great actor. He's a huge movie star. He looks great for 58?
Yeah, he's
I
around
don't
that
know.
Whatever
age.
he is.
I don't think that man ever ages. He
It's
still
the
looks the same. Like,
adrenochrome.
yeah, honestly, he still looks the same like he did in Jerry Maguire. Which
Yeah.
actually, between that and Born on the 4th of July, were 2 of my favorite Tom Cruise movies. But the whole thing is like, it's also like not only the diverse thing, but I guess there's some stuff going on that they have not only with just that, but also with their take on the Golden Globes on how they had to cancel one of the year's showing of the show. And so they were upset about that too.
So yeah, the Hollywood Foreign Press is all white. So all 87 of them are one version or another of white. But they did just give a few black actors like Chadwick Boseman. They just gave him an award. But I guess that's not good enough.
No,
I guess not. Not for Tom. Not
I
good
would
enough
bet
for Tom.
that a lot of Hollywood talent agencies are all staffed by white people. And I bet all, if not most of their lawyers are white too. And I bet the heads of the studios are mostly white. I bet we could uncover quite a lot here at the
Probably
Denny
so.
the Bull show. The Hollywood sign, the actual,
Yeah.
the sign on the hill.
white.
That's white.
Letters are all white.
All of them are white.
Tearing that
I
down.
just really don't feel like Tom Cruise returning some metal is going to really do
Yeah.
a whole lot to
Not-
solve
There-
the diversity problem in
There's still
Hollywood.
homeless people sleeping under every single bridge.
Exactly. He could have
in
sold them
California.
and given the money to the homeless people.
Exactly.
Anything.
He could have helped with like a soup kitchen.
Yes.
With that money.
Well, here's some local news. Open container will soon be allowed in our downtown during certain days and hours thanks to a new law designating a, quote, downtown entertainment district here in Clarksville. The bill, sponsored by local state representative Jason Hodges, thank you, Jason, would designate certain times allowing open container outdoors, and traffic would be shut down on certain streets during these hours. The hope is that the new law will increase tourism and encourage job creation.
So they're going to close Franklin. Great, just what we need, more road closures.
Yeah.
So the streets I read about that they're looking at are College Street, Strawberry Alley, and Franklin, and portions of Riverside and Craft.
Oh,
like that
yay.
whole area. I mean, and already with that construction of that center.
Yeah, they're already
like,
closing college.
It's already college is closed already. So like it's also a big mess. I see what they're trying to do there with the tourism and everything, but it's already a mess down there driving during rush hour.
And
already.
especially when Austin Peay's in session.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to guess they're going to do all this after the construction's done of the event center.
Hopefully.
And when we say close, they'll be open for business hours. But let's say after 8 p.m. on a Friday night, they'll just put a barricade across it. It's not going to be like poles or anything saying, no, you cannot. It's probably just like some removable barricades,
Like a block
right?
party.
Like a block
Like
party.
a block party, right?
Yeah, and like I
No
said,
day drinking.
Yeah, like I said, but there's another thing I read because I read the boards on social media and people talk about these when these news stories come out, and a lot of people were complaining about now that they've got this permitless carry going on. Now you're going to
Yes.
have the worry of drunk idiots with firearms walking around these festivals.
So yeah, we already have open carry in Tennessee. Now we have open container. So that covers the gun and the beer. This is kind of Wild Westy,
Yeah,
right?
this is
You can walk
starting
around with
to
my beer and my gun.
hold my beer and
I
watch
can go
this.
from like the police station to the courthouse to all the bail bondsmen and the 10 lawyers' offices while carrying my beer. I'm guessing
One-stop
Sundays.
shopping.
One stop.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm guessing Sundays are going to be out of the question. I'm guessing our two-headed mayors are like, how about Wednesday from 8 to 8:05?
Yeah.
Right. But I think the next bill should allow gunfights, like just on Strawberry Alley
Oh my gosh.
and only from 10 to midnight. And only if the marshal is nearby.
And we
took
need
my
a
parking
purge
spot.
siren.
You took my parking spot. Let's draw.
Yeah. I want to be able to hitch
At
my
dawn.
horse kind of like in the middle of the street and go down to the whorehouse. Adam, write that bill.
Okay, I'll
The
get
whorehouse
on it
bill.
right away.
Yeah.
Speaking of police,
Okay.
the Metro Nashville Police announced the punishment for 3 officers involved using a battering ram to serve a search warrant on the wrong apartment last summer. All 3 were given unpaid suspensions between 10 and 20 days each. In addition, the lieutenant at the scene was demoted to sergeant. The sergeant was demoted to police officer, and the officer on duty was suspended.
That's because there was nowhere for that last one to demote
Oh,
him
yeah.
other than like front desk.
Paper pusher.
Here, you
dispatch.
answer the phones.
Mail room.
Right,
You get the
right.
mail room.
Yeah.
Well, the 3 officers apparently were looking for a 16-year-old who had not lived at the home for over 4 months. They arrived at the scene at 6 o'clock in the morning last summer, as body cam footage revealed. They knocked on the front door, and when no one responded, quickly resorted to breaking down the door with a battering ram. The officers were surprised to learn that the 16-year-old no longer lived at the residence. Further review of the case showed that the housing agency database they were using was last updated in 2018.
Imagine the surprise of the mother and 2 children who were living there at the time, who didn't answer the door in like 3 seconds at 6 a.m., and who had their front door kicked in by 3 armed cops.
Yeah. Well, where does the blame lie here, though?
Well, I have questions.
Yeah.
One, why are we kicking a door down at 6 a.m.? I don't know. To try to catch the young man before he goes to school
Or were?
or work. 2, why were we kicking a door down? And 3, why are we 3 of us? This was not a case of a violent suspect from what I read. This
Yeah.
is a case of property crimes, not murder.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering because I'm still trying to understand things.
Me
I'm still
too.
trying to
And most-
understand our justice.
And most protocols for most departments are different, but if it's a warrant being served and if it's a nonviolent individual that you're serving it to, you
Right.
technically only need 1 officer to serve that warrant. And if they're not there, you kind of go back at a different time
Right.
to see if they're there. You don't just take 3 of you and go, let's just break this door down.
Break the door down.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking of like, okay, the captain or the commissioner tells the captain, and the captain tells the lieutenant, here, that kid that was spray painting that guy's property next door,
Yeah.
we're going to go ahead and bring him in. So I want you to go down to this house. We haven't, I'm guessing he still lives there. He lived there 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And get there at 6 a.m.
The butt crack of dawn when everyone
Right, get there at 6 a.m. I want you to knock twice. If they don't answer in 5 seconds, use a battering ram and knock the door in.
Yeah.
Right?
Sounds
Guns
like a
drawn.
plan, yeah.
And drag that sucker in.
Well, I'm thinking, I mean, given that it was in the housing agency database, that tells me that it's likely a low-income housing scenario, which makes it even kind of more messed up because there's just a lot of turnover.
Yeah.
And that's a fact. That's not a dig. That's just factual. There's a lot of turnover in those places. And I feel, first of all, as though the housing agency had a responsibility to update their information a little more frequently.
Yeah.
And definitely, I feel like the police dropped the ball on this one. I don't like to criticize our men and women in blue, but
Yeah, I have no problem criticizing the men and women in blue. The ones in Clarksville I haven't had any trouble with, but they're kind of in a little bit of what we call a slump in baseball terms, and it seems like some good press
It does.
is due. I think they need to hire a really good PR person.
I think so, too.
Because the only good thing about this story is they didn't shoot the lady
Yeah.
and her kids,
Thank God.
right?
Yeah.
But in other stories, They do.
It happens a lot, unfortunately.
So, yeah, another sad story for the cops.
Absolutely. Well, the Colonial Pipeline reopened this past week, returning to operations following a cyber attack that limited gas supply to the southeastern United States for several days. The company allegedly paid a $5 million ransom to a group called DarkSide, whom the press has linked to a Russian source. As a result of all of this, the gas prices here in Tennessee went over the $3 a gallon mark for the first time in several years. Energy Secretary and former Michigan Governor Jennifer Granholm said that it will take several days for the product delivery supply chain to return to normal.
That was a headache, just trying to go to a gas station within that 24 to 48 hours just to get gas.
With your shopping bags,
with the
and your
shopping bags
plastic
and everything like
bins
that. My understanding though is this Colonial Pipeline, they were doing 2.5 million barrels per day of gas of what they're trying to do.
So what Granholm really meant was, we had a couple days the pipeline was closed, so gas prices probably going to be high for a couple months.
Yeah.
Then they'll drop down to about $2.70 a gallon, and then there will be more of this Israel-Palestine mess, so it'll go back to $3 a gallon, then down to $2.90, then trouble with Iran, so now we're at $3.25 a gallon, then down, and then there'll be a hurricane in Texas, and it'll go up to $3.40 a gallon. And so on and so on. I predict this because I'm old enough to remember the presidencies of W. Bush and Barack Obama and the delight of paying $4 a gallon for gas. I've lived it. I've experienced the $100 fill-up, and it looks like everyone else will too.
Yeah, it's already happening.
I'm shocked that they've been linked with no evidence whatsoever to Russia.
Well, they said that it did go back to a Russian source, but the
I'm
thing
sure
is
they did.
The dark side. See, I don't even think it happened personally.
Right.
I think this is a red herring. It's a way to just jack those gas prices up,
Yep.
summer travel, etc. But I digress. But DarkSide is a hacking. They're hackers, so they could say they were from Warsaw
Wherever.
and be in Los Angeles.
Yes.
I mean, it's
this is the same news media who lied about the Steele dossier and Russian bounties and Russia hacking our election machines. And here we are with Russian gas pipeline hackers. So sure, we believe you, not. My wife, she's such a liberal that she places absolutely no blame on any of this at the feet of Joe Biden.
Really?
None whatsoever. To her, it's just all coincidence. She would rather spend $100 to fill up her car than have to read Trump's mean tweets. And I think there's about 80 million people just like her.
There probably is.
And that's too bad. Me personally, I'll take the tweets and the name calling and $2 gas. You can have Joe Biden. I'll take cheap gas.
Yes.
I prefer the cheap gas as well. But speaking of Joe Biden.
Biden time.
Biden time.
Biden time.
It may be now that Democrats are chanting, build that wall. After promising on the campaign trail not to build, quote, one more foot of Trump's border wall, the Biden administration announced this week that it will, in fact, resume construction of the southern barrier as the immigration crisis continues to spiral out of control. The Army Corps of Engineers will restart construction on a nearly 14-mile section along the Rio Grande Valley in 6 weeks. They will begin with repairs of the existing wall, followed by the establishment of a brand new concrete levee.
I've lost track of all the broken campaign promises and outright lies that Joe Biden made to the American public to get them to vote for him. So let me see if I can remember a few, Adam. You tell me if I missed any. He said no more wall, not another foot of wall. He's building the wall. He said he'd push a public option on the ACA. Hasn't discussed it once since he was elected.
Nope.
He said free community college. Dems haven't put in any bills yet. He said if we voted for the 2 Georgia senators, he'd send out $2,000 checks, and then suddenly they were $1,400 checks, and then they reduced the amount of people who could get those checks. He said no more kids in cages. There's more kids in cages than ever. And lastly, he said the $15 an hour minimum wage, and that's never going to happen. It's totally forgotten. And don't get me wrong, I don't agree with it anyway. I think it should vary by state. I think maybe Tennessee is $12, maybe Vermont's $17. It just depends on cost of living where you live. But my point is, he promised it.
Yeah.
He campaigned on it. And by the way, you realize the last time we raised the federal minimum wage was under George W. Bush?
It was a while.
Yeah, it's been $7.25 an hour since before Obama.
Which is preposterous given the cost of living. It's and look at what's happening as a result of this. And people want to blame it on unemployment, and maybe that's part of it. But the fact that we have staffing shortages all over the country with these lower level income jobs. And at the end of the day, I did the research myself years and years ago, and it was going to end up almost costing me money to go to work when
Yeah.
you factor in childcare and all that. I was gonna work 40 hours a week to make $40.
That's why you see people that work that minimum wage, that low paying job, have 2-3 jobs, maybe even in their life. I mean, you look at some people that work that are like bartenders. I mean, their minimum wage is terrible. I bartended for a year in Chicago, and all I made was like $4.75, $5, but that is deleted. I pretty much lived paying gas and groceries on cash tips.
It's $3.
And it's very hard, so you have to work 3 jobs just to even make
$3.15 for bartenders and $2.13 for waitresses.
Yeah.
Barack Obama and Joe Biden were in power for 8 years. They had total control of government from 2009 to 2011. And when I say he had total control of government, it wasn't like this 50-50 Senate with Kamala as a tiebreaker. No. They had a filibuster-proof Senate. They had 59 Senate seats for Barack Obama back then. That's hard to believe, but it's true. Plus a couple indies in there with Angus King and Bernie. They didn't raise the minimum wage a penny, even with all that power. They didn't do squat to move the needle, even when they had all the power. So I guess I just want to know, are you seeing a trend? Joe Biden is what my grandma called a fibber. He's a lifelong fibber, folks. He fibbed when he said he was arrested in South Africa protesting for Mandela. That never happened. He said he fought for civil rights in his youth. Dude spoke at the funeral service of a Klan member. He said he was going to bring the country together and work in a bipartisan way. Not happening. Hasn't gotten a single Republican Senate vote on a bill yet. But I'll tell you what Biden has done. This is where I'm going to give him credit, okay? I'm going to give him all the credit for these things. He has created a crisis at the southern border that's out of control, so bad that he's going to build Trump's wall, as Jen just said.
Yeah.
He's overseen a cultural woke revolution that has divided the country worse than any time in 150 years. He sent gas prices through the roof. He's authorized $6 trillion in spending with all borrowed money.
Yeah.
This is all deficit spending, which is already driving inflation. And if you don't believe me, go buy some lumber.
Yep.
Go buy
my
some roast
gosh.
beef. Subway isn't even selling roast beef sandwiches right now because it costs too much. Go fill up your gas tank. That's what happens when you just print money and give it away. You get Jimmy Carter 2.0 in the form of Joe Biden. So I want you all to get back with me here in a couple months when we're at full-scale war with Iran or North Korea or Russia or all three, when gas is $4 a gallon, when we're continuing to fund Netanyahu to bomb the piss out of Gaza, when they pass H.R. 1 and every state has to have elections that match New York and California, with every household getting unsolicited mail-in ballots for the last 4 residents that live there. I still get junk mail, Adam, for the last 4 people who lived in my house.
Oh, yeah.
Dating back 25 years.
Yeah, we used to get that all the time back at my parents' house up in Chicago.
Yeah.
We'd be there and we'd have a name, but like, this person has not lived here in like 30 years.
Yeah. So when your Happy Meal costs $10 and your car costs $50K and $100 to fill up, and you're apologizing for liking John Wayne movies, and just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, they'll install Kamala as the president and send Joe off to pasture. We'll have a corporate cackling puppet with no principles, completely bought and paid for by the establishment, by the military-industrial complex, the prison-industrial complex, by the corporations, by Big Pharma, as our president. I can't wait. I can't wait to hear the buyer's remorse that comes from that.
It's I don't know. I think it's kind of 50-50.
Okay.
Well, the former president, Donald Trump, is expected to resume his trademark rallies as soon as next month, as well as over the July 4th holiday, with 2 events already in the works. Trump's team is still determining the venues for the rallies. A person familiar with his plans confirmed.
Did the person familiar, did they determine the reason for these rallies? I mean, what are they rallying for?
It's not stated, but my guess is that he's just going ahead and I think he's bored. I think he and I think he's going ahead and getting it started early for 2024.
I think also that, but I also think it's him pretty much doing this revenge tour of all the media saying that it's just pretty much just deleting him, big tech deleting him from his free speech. I think this is also one of his plans, is just, hey, I'm going to go around, I'm going to be seen, I'm going to be heard because you told me I couldn't be. But yeah, I think this is a hilarious and brilliant idea on his part, if you ask me. I mean,
I think he's going to be dunking on Biden.
Yeah.
Clearly he loves the roar of the crowd.
Oh, yeah.
And he gets it. I really wish he would just retire with the same class and dignity that Barack Obama stepped away. Remember Obama, he didn't hold rallies. He just got paid $400,000 to give speeches to Wall Street bankers, like Citigroup, right? Why can't you just do that? You know, the same bankers that he bailed out in 2009 when the economy crashed, and he made the banks bigger. He made the banks whole, and he paid the lenders with our money while kicking 5.1 families out of their houses. Do you feel like I'm piling on Obama this week?
I feel
Jen,
we're a
little
little Obama heavy.
But you're also kind of stating some facts there. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah,
Well, it's hard
kinda
not to be.
It's hard not to be though, because he also and this might just be my conservative viewpoint of the things, but there was times when even after 2016, when Trump won the election, you still saw former President Obama come through. You still heard about Hillary coming through, complaining about. They were still doing tours and all this stuff.
True.
After they did all this political stuff.
Yeah.
So what's the deal with Trump doing his rallies? Maybe even if it is him not gearing up for 2024, he just wants to do rallies.
Yeah.
But Denny, going back to your Obama question and about piling him on heavy or whatnot. Again, the reason I say it's hard not to is two things. First of all, we've got his vice president currently sitting in the White House. So there's obviously going to be a comparison drawn
It's like
there.
a third term for Obama.
Pretty much. And then in addition, look at the parallels to the economy. And it's very easy to sort of look, as you said, at where we're at and where we're going and go, wait a minute, I've seen this before.
It's very apples to apples.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't mean to pile on Obama. I'm just asking, why can't Trump just go away and give $500,000 speeches to bankers, or maybe buy a 50-acre estate on Martha's Vineyard like Obama did, right? Because you can afford that on a $400,000 a year salary as president, right?
No.
I think the assumption is that Trump is going to go around the country, including here in Nashville, I'm sure. He'll be here. He'll be just dunking on the Biden administration and asking, hey, you miss me yet? And, of course, 20,000 people are going to say, yes.
Yeah.
Should be interesting.
And minutely, he'll be promoting Republicans in midterms for about 3 seconds, because I don't think he really cares about that. Before more dunking. Trust me, they'll sell out. They'll sell out every one of these rallies.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think that people just, because they're interested. Like,
He's a
what's he
celebrity.
going to say?
Right.
Well, let's leave politics behind. Travel to a galaxy far, far away.
I'm liking
Far
this segue.
away.
All right.
Far away.
Yeah,
Liking
I
it.
like this already.
Yeah. Got some exciting news from Disney. As star Ewan McGregor. Is it Ewan or Ewan?
Ewan.
Ewan. Ewan. That's I don't know. I always want to say Evan. Ewan McGregor. I'm going to call him Evan. I'm renaming him.
Oh.
McGregor shared first set photos of his. I can't talk today. Reprising his role as Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Star Wars series Kenobi, which will soon air on the Disney Plus streaming service. McGregor portrayed the legendary Jedi in 3 prequel films from 1999 to 2005 and has been vocal in his desire to reprise the character in the studio. McGregor's new series will portray the years Kenobi lived in exile on Tatooine. Tatooine, is that right? Tatooine. I'm not a Star Wars person.
Well, yeah.
Where he watches from afar as Luke Skywalker comes of age. I
No
knew
lie.
nothing. I'm sorry, I knew nothing.
You have no idea what you're saying.
I
man.
absolutely don't.
It's all
I'm
new language
flying
there.
blind.
If
I'm
you
speaking
were-
Russian.
If you were talking like Game of Thrones or Harry Potter, I would be right there
I'm
with
100%
you.
I'm
behind
right
you.
there with
I
that
don't know
too.
anything about those
No.
franchises, but Jen, I do know about this
I'm
one.
sorry I screwed the pooch on that one.
And I am very excited about this. I thought Ewan McGregor was easily the bright spot of the prequel.
I
trilogy.
agree. Yes, I think he was the best one out of all of them.
Yeah. And I think everyone's hoping that this is as high of quality as The Mandalorian, which is a pretty top-notch
Right.
series.
I mean, that's a great series. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I know about that?
What?
Is if I have to see that little baby Yoda
Yeah.
meme.
We bought one of those.
He's adorable.
We bought one of those.
It's played out.
His name's not even Yoda. Sorry, spoiler alert. But
I would say of the 16 episodes of The Mandalorian, I'd say half of them were as good as anything you'd want to see in a theater.
I'll be honest.
They were really good.
Only one of them I didn't like, but I liked the rest, all the other 15. I love the other 15, but one of them I didn't like it.
So I'm going to ask some questions about this, but I'm going to talk to since Jen doesn't know anything about Star Wars. There's really no. Okay, so let's.
I'm just going to relax.
We'll just,
for a
yeah,
minute.
you
We'll just
take,
talk
take a
about
break,
Jen.
Jen.
I'm
You
gonna
just
rest my
listen
voice.
and
That's right.
everything.
We're going to have a man-to-man conversation.
A nerd
A
conversation.
nerd conversation while Jen takes a break.
All right.
The big question, Adam.
Yes.
Could Darth Vader appear in this film? Now, technically, it's in episode 4 when Vader and Kenobi meet in the Death Star, which would have come after this series,
Yes.
and have their duel. Vader doesn't say anything about, it's been 18 years since I've seen you, Obi-Wan. No.
Yeah.
He just says, it's been a long time, Obi-Wan, right? So really, it could have been like 10 years, and it could have been right in this universe here, right?
Yeah.
They could meet again here. I'm pretty geeked about it. I love Ewan McGregor in this role. I'm hoping he gets a good story.
I do too.
Maybe we'll see a young Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see a teenage Boba Fett.
Yep.
We'll see the Hutts, right? The gangsters of Tatooine.
Yep.
The Hutts. She still has no idea what we're talking about.
No, none at all.
We should see the Death Star being finished. We should see Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru maybe having some marital problems.
Yeah.
Yeah. Might see
Buying
the droids if we're lucky.
Buying the droids, yes.
Princess Leia is a teenager.
Mine is this whole thing.
I know who that is. I
You
was
know-
Princess Leia for Halloween when I was a kid.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
But my thing is, I hope this series is something that's along the lines of Old Man Logan series from Marvel, and it's just, I'm hoping there is some, like, they don't do the whole Star Wars. It's like lightsaber kind of like light family, hardly like Star Wars stuff. I hope it's like R-rated Star Wars, kind of like Obi-Wan, just going that mother
Scratcher.
just just like I gotta get ready for this kid to battle his father and everything like this. It's just insane.
For Star Wars fans, this is, you see, you know, one of my buddies from work, we were going to go see one of the, I think it was Rogue One. And I said, hey, I'm going to go see this new Star Wars movie. Do you want to go see this new Star Wars movie with me? And he literally looked at me and said, is that the one with the ears? I was like,
See, I'm not the only one.
I was like, you're not my friend anymore. You're a bad person. Go away.
I did not like Solo. Solo was my least favorite out of the whole film series so far.
I loved Rogue One.
Rogue One was
a
really good.
great movie. I literally was 5 years old again seeing Rogue One.
Yeah.
So
Isn't
I
that where
guess-
R2D2 is from? Is that from
yes,
Star Wars?
R2D2
Yes,
is from
R2D2 is
yes,
from Star
all
Wars.
those.
I
yeah.
saw the first one as like a little kid, but I'm
Yeah.
I'm not like fangirling at 42 over here.
I'm more of Harry Potter, like along those lines. So
Yeah.
So is my 10-year-old.
I don't think Harry Potter was written for me.
No.
I don't think it was.
No.
All right. Well, I guess that's enough Star Wars then.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Jen's pulling us back out of that universe.
I'm woke
back
now.
to reality.
I'm woke.
Are you woke,
I'm
Jen?
Star Wars woke. Thank goodness. Well, on Thursday, Dr. Rochelle Walensky announced during a White House briefing that people who are fully vaccinated against coronavirus no longer need to wear masks while indoors or outdoors. Walensky, the director of the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, otherwise known as the CDC, also updated the organization's federal guidance for fully vaccinated people by saying that they no longer need to physically distance themselves in either large or small gatherings.
Someone may want to tell Dr. Walensky, we've been doing this in Tennessee like since before the vaccine even came out.
Wait a minute. We were supposed to be doing, and yeah. So
We weren't wearing masks, no one's social distancing
We
like
were
a
made
year
to-
ago.
Our state was made to break rules.
So basically,
Totally.
she had a press conference that said, okay, everybody, you can live like they do in Tennessee.
just keep doing what
Yeah.
Tennessee is
Right,
doing.
whatever Tennessee's doing, you can all do.
Well, as you may have noticed, Tennessee business owners are already tearing down those mandatory mask signs from their business stores since it was lifted on March 14th.
I actually felt good today. I went grocery shopping without it. I don't know if I was supposed to.
We'll allow it.
Yeah. Now, let me ask something, Jen. Did you ever test positive for COVID? I know it's kind of a HIPAA violation, but
Oh, I don't care. No.
No?
Well, I've never, knock on wood, I've never experienced
Never
it. I've never had a
needed
need to.
never
Yeah.
needed to be tested. What about you, Anna?
Nope, never been. I mean, there was a time where I felt like I got a beginning of it back in January of last year
Yeah.
when it before it blew up, because there was 4 days where I just felt like total crap.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if it was the flu
Yeah.
or if it was that COVID thing coming up. But I'm pretty sure that I had the early symptoms of it, but I got through it by doing simple things like staying at home, taking medicine, and relaxing.
Yeah.
And that's how you get through it. It's basically 100,000 time worse flu. It's just you just do the right things by staying healthy.
What about you, Denny? Have you ever needed to get
I
your
did.
frontal lobe?
I did
poked?
test positive back
my
in early
gosh.
February. Yeah, I
Wow.
had a headache for about 3 days. Nothing unusual. Felt tired for a couple afternoons. But I got quarantined for 10 days. Went right back to work and went right back to 7-day weeks. So they didn't care.
I'd say, I swear, up one side and down the other, that Ava, my daughter, and I had it back in November. Her worse than me, because my daughter's never spiked a fever. And of course, again, November. So this is right before it really, really blew up here in the States. And 104.5 temperature. And she's, oh, Mama, I'm weak. I can't walk, coughing. Took her to the doctor. Flu test was negative. Strep test was negative. They diagnosed her with an unknown respiratory infection. And she was so sick for a week. And I couldn't get her fever below 104. So tell me what that sounds like to you.
Oh yeah.
Well, I can tell you that the vaccine is available pretty much for everybody down to like
Yeah.
age 12 now. Thankfully, it's free. So, by the way, did you see Rand Paul and Fauci going at it
I did
this
not.
week in that Senate hearing? So, Rand Paul was asking Fauci about gain-of-function research because a lot of people are now saying that the virus was created in a lab. and that escaped from a lab.
We've always been saying that.
That there weren't people eating bats in live markets and somehow a bat virus directly mutated to a human being and infected them. Instead, they're saying that it was created by virologists doing what they call gain-of-function research. Now, Jen, gain-of-function, if you don't know, is when virologists take an animal virus that's benign.
Yes.
Okay, so it doesn't affect humans, and they basically juice it up. They supercharge it in a lab, and so now it does affect humans. And then they try to kill the virus. So it sounds like any one of many scary movies.
It very
Any
much
Resident
does.
Evil movie you've ever
Yeah.
seen. That's exactly what that is.
Yeah, so Rand Paul said that they conduct this research at the Wuhan lab in China, which is a fact. And he said that Fauci has sent money to them to do this research, also a fact. Now, Fauci denied this up and down, but apparently there was a Dr. Shi, a Chinese scientist, who published a paper reviewed by MIT a few years ago, and I guess in the paper she thanked Fauci
And
for
wasn't
being
he,
a sponsor.
wasn't he in Wuhan at some point?
That I don't know.
He was in it. I think he was in there early fall of 2019, like just seeing what was going on, how it was going, and everything like that. I do believe he was there though, like for one day.
So this gain of function, this let's create a deadly virus that will kill a lot of people research, which God loves. So this Batwoman, right? She listed Fauci as a sponsor in her paper after working on this kind of twisted SARS variant. And now he's doing damage control.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because
He
he
is.
could be in a little bit of trouble. Now, he swears up and down that neither he nor the NIH gave her money. Instead, he says, well, we gave the money to EcoHealth, the middleman, and they gave her the money to conduct this mad science stuff. But now, who do you think the media is supporting here, Fauci or Rand Paul? Which one of these two, a scientist who's been caught lying to the American people repeatedly, talking about Fauci, or a U.S. senator? If the U.S. senator was Kamala Harris or Elizabeth Warren, they'd be on the cover of Time magazine right now.
That's a tight
But
one.
because it's Rand Paul of Kentucky, screw him. Right?
That's very
That's
true.
the way it goes.
Well, speaking of Anthony Fauci, the celebrity infectious disease researcher told this year's graduating class of Vanderbilt University to, quote, find joy and laughter in a harsh world during his virtual speech this week. The Tennessean newspaper reported that Fauci's address was filled with the realities of young adults trying to succeed in a world recovering from a pandemic. Well, his humorless speech, devoid of anything anecdotal, no jokes, no stories, recognized what he called the, quote, sad truth that we are a divided nation where so many people believe in alternative facts.
This is the Dr. Fauci who said last March we shouldn't be wearing masks.
Masks.
Yeah.
Said it, was caught on camera, and this wasn't March 2021. This was March 2020 when the NBA was canceling their season and Disney World was closing, and we all went, hey, this might actually be serious
No
stuff.
March Madness.
Right. He said, nah,
everything
you
was
shouldn't be
done.
wearing masks.
Nah.
It's on film. He was giving this alternative facts, I guess we can call it, that we shouldn't wear masks. Then a few weeks later, when it was clear we would have enough masks, he flipped 180 degrees and never got called out. So I have a little bit of a problem with alternative facts. You know, like Russia hacking our election, like the P-tape.
And this
Right.
is the same doctor who tells us to not wear masks and then requires us to wear two.
Yeah.
And then, hey, get a vaccination as well.
So if I'm
It's
gonna,
like,
yeah, I mean, I see. If I'm going to play devil's advocate, though, all right, COVID was, Fauci's old, okay, but during his time, I'm trying to figure
Sorry,
out how to
that's good.
word this, but COVID was kind of like no one had seen anything like it. And so I'm trying to give Fauci a little bit of leeway because he was in a position where he had an entire nation of people looking to him for answers that he simply didn't have. And so I wonder if maybe that lent to a lot of the confusion because he simply didn't know, but you can't be the head of the CDC basically and go up and say, well, I don't know.
with false information for that matter too. I mean, it might not be false information. It just might be misinformation
Exactly.
that him himself has just not gained control of 100%. Like you said, this pandemic hit us by surprise, which I'm not going to go near there or there where my viewpoint on that is, but basically it was a pandemic that hit us, and no political figure, no healthcare figure could describe on, well, how do we fight it? How do we recover from it? What do
We
we
didn't
do?
know.
Right, yeah, we
Nobody
didn't
knew.
know.
So yeah, it really does kind of make me wonder. I mean, I'm not defending Fauci. I don't have a dog in the race. I'm just trying to look at it from an alternative perspective.
Okay.
And say, well, hey, maybe the guy. And then if you remember, there was a little bit of an issue, and I'm not dogging on Trump, but there was a little bit of an issue between the two gentlemen, where one was. I mean, the whole thing was. It was just an.
It became heavily politicized.
Yes.
Yes.
It did, which it really shouldn't have. It should have always been. It should always been about
the American people
American
and their
people.
health.
Yeah, what's best for them. But in related news, did you guys hear that 8 members of the New York Yankees have tested positive for the coronavirus this week, even though they had all been vaccinated?
Wow.
Yeah. So the outbreak was first detected as the team was flying to Florida for a series in Tampa Bay. One of the 8 positive cases, the Yankees said, out of 7 are asymptomatic. Only one of the players has reported, quote, some symptoms.
Well, maybe Boston will win the series,
Yeah.
or the division this year
Right.
now, finally.
Or maybe Baltimore.
Maybe Baltimore. Who knew?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some symptoms, such as I had with a headache for 2 minutes and I felt tired right before bedtime. In any other year, I think if anyone mentioned the name, you know,
Yeah.
the name.
The name.
You wouldn't give these symptoms a moment's thought. I mean, it basically gave license to Americans to all become kind of hypochondriacs.
Yep.
Like my dad. When I was growing up, my dad was a hypochondriac, right? Like every headache was a brain tumor. Every cough was tuberculosis. Every cramp was a blood clot, right?
Yeah.
If he had heartburn, he thought he had lung cancer. So now that's what this has done to everyone. I had COVID. It was the mildest headache I ever had, but I was a little sleepy, but it just, I hate to think that things like this get overblown. I don't, let me ask you this. Is there any reason that these Yankees cannot play baseball for 3 hours?
Not that I've heard. And I mean, it's like you said, if it was, I mean, it's flu season, right? Mm-hmm. And I've even got friends that are doctors who are saying that they have not treated a single flu case yet this year.
Right.
It's basically,
So if
this
they
has
had-
replaced
it's
the flu.
gone.
Yeah,
It's gone.
if the Yankees had the flu, I think the coach would probably say, look, if you can walk, get your butt out there and hit the ball.
Yeah.
The problem with that is also this whole guidelines thing that every professional league now has to follow because of this pandemic. It's, listen, you have to do the same thing that the CDC tells the American people. If you're sick, 7 days to 14 days quarantine. Do not contact anyone. Don't leave your house. Just stay in quarantine. Make sure it goes away. Now professional teams have to do the same thing, but now they have to do the guidelines of their professional leagues, and it's like, listen, they now have something called the COVID list in baseball and COVID list in bat. They have these lists now.
What is a COVID
So
list?
it's kind of like a compared of like if you're on the injury list. So if you're on the injury list, you're day to day, or this is how many days you got to miss to recover from your injury. Now they're doing that with the sports, where if you test positive for COVID, now you go on this COVID list until your symptoms go away after 7 to 10 days. Then you can come back and get back into the swing of things with our team.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, professional athletes, you know how I mentioned earlier that the police could use some good pub.
Yeah.
And we know that there is good stories. They just don't get publicized.
Yeah.
Okay. Professional athletes, probably even more than cops, really need good publicity right now.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Non-political.
yeah.
Yes.
Back in my day, okay, if you were a great athlete, you were a god. If you were a great boxer, a great quarterback,
They even make movies about you.
They'd make movies about you. You were forever revered no matter what. Look at Joe Namath. That dude can embarrass himself every which way, and it doesn't matter. He's still Broadway Joe.
Drunk all the time on the sidelines.
Yeah.
And he still was.
It doesn't matter. We still think of him as a great quarterback.
And look at Madden with the video game success.
Mike Ditka went on national television to tell people, don't be sissies. Let your doctor stick his finger in your right?
In your cornhole.
Get your prostate checked. That's how revered Mike Ditka was. These guys today, they're spoiled divas. They're babies that they take knees for the national anthem. If you tell me that has not hurt ratings in the National Football League, you're full of beans.
Well, the focus has shifted. Okay, when was the last time you heard Alex Rodriguez? Great athlete, right?
Yeah.
When was the last time he was in the news?
For J-Lo.
There you go.
That was the last time. Yeah.
I mean, these players, they're sitting out games for nothing until playoff time. Like LeBron, right?
Yeah.
Great player, but he misses a lot of games during
does.
the regular season. So if you're a little kid, you went to see LeBron, he's not even playing, but playoff time, he's at 100% strength. It it's just, they behave like jackasses a lot of times. They get in the end zone. They celebrate like they've never been there. And now we got a bunch of 20-year-old ball players with headaches that can't play ball. I just...
This is my favorite thing about it, too. I know where you're going. But my thing is when these athletes were young kids and college kids that just went out and played the game.
Yeah.
And just loved it for what it was.
Before the money.
Not even thinking about the money. They were just going. You look at college football athletes like I'm sorry, Johnny Manziel. Before, when he was college football, he was going and he was playing. Then once he got a contract in the NFL, he became a big ego kid.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, come on.
Right. This is why I'm a huge football fan. I'm not like a stats person or anything like that, but I enjoy the game. And this is why I've always loved college football way more than the NFL, because they have passion. They love the game.
Yeah.
They're there to play. And I realize that, you're right. A lot of them are playing because they want that big money contract. But the majority of them don't see that. They don't see the NFL.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's just simply for the love of the sport. And that's, I think, what we really need to get back to. Forget their love lives. Forget their political opinions. They get paid to play a freaking sport. Do your job.
That's right.
That's it. Well, speaking of Hollywood, with just 2 weeks to go before A Quiet Place 2 gets its national release, Hollywood has started the Back to Cinema's drum roll. As mask mandates across the country are lifted, movie theaters look forward to potential blockbusters like F9, which is the latest Fast and Furious film, hitting the big screen, along with Dune, Marvel's Black Widow, Disney's Jungle Cruise movie, and, speaking of cruise, Tom Cruise returning as Maverick in Top Gun 2. While a lot of films are simultaneously streaming on various outlets, the movie industry is anxious to get theaters back in business.
I'm looking forward to the new Batman movie with Robert Pattinson.
Yes.
That's one I will see
Really?
opening night.
Yes.
Yeah.
Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
Isn't he the sparkly guy?
The Twilight guy.
Twilight guy?
Yeah, but he's actually done a lot of little indie stuff. He's actually a pretty good actor.
Yeah,
he's
really
a better
good.
actor than what he gets credit for. And see, here's the thing. I'm a huge fan of seeing movies in the theater. I see as many even old movies as new movies in the theater. In fact, I think this weekend they re-released the original Mission Impossible film, and I thought about going to see it. So, I love movies. The greatest memories I have of seeing a film in a theater. I got to tell you this one.
My mind went when you said the greatest memories I have are in a movie theater.
Actually, you know what? Let me tell you this
All right,
one. Okay?
I can't wait for this. All right.
My mom and I went and saw Raiders of the Lost Ark. This is 1981.
Wow.
Okay. We had a church fair. It was rained out. Everybody was really bummed out. My mom said, "Hey, let's go see that new Harrison Ford movie." We went and saw that movie, and it was so awesome. When we got home, we told my dad, "You got to see this movie." And it's raining. He's like, well, "Let's go see it right now."
Oh my God.
We saw it twice in the same day.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's how much I grew up loving movies.
Yeah.
So, and I've shared many movies on the big screen with my kids. I'll say, "Hey, down at the Belcourt, Nashville, they're playing Jaws. We got to go see Jaws on the big screen." Because
that would be cool.
Yeah,
that really would.
So I am also very anxious to see movie theaters come back.
I'm actually happy. I actually got to go to Regal when when Mortal Kombat came out and everything like that. So I got to see it on the big screen.
I'm so jealous.
For the first time in a while.
Yeah.
And those are some of my fondest memories. Was going to the theaters with friends and family to see huge box office movies that are coming out, sequels, remakes, all this stuff. I think my favorite thing that we did was when my favorite story is when they did all the Marvel movies. They did a marathon when the new Avengers movie came out. They did all
over
the
the whole
original
weekend,
over
right?
the whole weekend.
Yeah.
And I went and I watched all of them
Wow.
at the theater. And I went by myself because my family didn't want to go, but all my friends are busy. So I was like, I don't mind going by myself either.
Yeah.
I know it's fun to go with people, but I love going by myself.
I prefer to
I
go
can
by
get
myself.
invested in the movie without
Exactly.
someone asking me, why are they doing this? Why stop asking me questions? Just watch the movie.
And you got to go during the matinee times because
Yes.
I'm unlike the two of you where I did not grow up really much going to the theater. Once I became a teenager and could drive, me and my friends, I have some fun memories of all of us going. And so I never really built that love for it. And I just get irritated because it seems like no matter what, I can go at 2:00 on a Wednesday afternoon, right? And there's 3 people in the theater, and one of them is sitting in front of me, and reeks of perfume. The other is sitting behind me with a child who's kicking my seat every 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And the other is sitting 2 seats over from me with the food sounds and the
Right.
It's distracting.
They're not respecting the rules of the theater. That bothers me too.
There's like 80 seats though. And
Yeah,
it's
there's
like
80 seats. I'm sitting in the middle. Like you said, sometimes I'll go by myself because nobody else wants to see this film. And yeah, somebody will walk in and they'll get right in the seat directly behind me. I'm thinking, dude, you got the whole theater wide open. Why do you guys sit behind me?
There's some comedian that made that joke. He goes, if there's me and one other person in that theater, I'll just be funny and just sit right next to that person and just creep them out. I'm like, why would you do that? It's funny, but don't do that. Like, there's only 2 of you.
Well,
like,
people ask me, why do you go see movies that you own on Blu-ray?
It's a different vibe.
It's totally different, especially when you see a movie with an audience. And I have to say, when we first came down here, we saw Gone with the Wind in Nashville on the big screen with a sold-out crowd. And seeing that movie with an audience, with the audience laughing at all Scarlett's lines or whistling when Rhett Butler, totally different experience seeing that with a crowd. So,
you know which one I saw in a jam-packed theater on opening day was the movie Marley and Me.
Oh, it's about a dog.
The dog movie.
I never saw it.
Yeah, I went with I had already read the book, and it made me bawl my eyes out. It's such a tearjerker.
Mine was Deadpool.
We went to see Marley and Me, and so it's Christmas Day. It came out on Christmas Day. Families. I'm there with my stepdad, and so not a seat left. We had the crappiest seats, but at the sad part, I mean, like you said, everyone's laughing, but then here comes the sad part, right? And all of us, it's like the whole theater is sobbing. Like there's these burly biker dudes in the back, like, and it was hilarious.
Mine was Deadpool. Was the one when it opened, and it was a crowded theater, and it was, if anybody has seen the movie, it was the scene. I don't know if you've seen it, Dennis, but the scene where he's cutting his hand out of the cuff. And he looks at Colossus and he goes, "Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret." And only me and 2 other people are laughing in the theater.
I immediately
because
get that.
my girlfriend at the time looks at me and she goes, "Why was that funny?" I go, "Do you not know the book? Are you there, God? It's me,
Judy
Margaret." And what it's
Blume.
about?
It's classic.
Oh my God, it is so funny. So
yeah.
All right. Well, Jen, that's all for headlines.
That's all we got for this week. Yeah.
Well, you're probably wondering if we were going to talk about the recent developments in Israel and Palestine.
Ooh.
And for those of you who don't know, it looks like there is fighting going on again. So, Jen, do you know everything, all the details of this conflict? Or no?
I'm not even going to try to lie. Until I walked into the studio this evening, I hadn't even heard anything. It's embarrassing, honestly.
Well, it all began with the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948. So this is post-World War II. There was a civil war between the Israeli Jews and the Palestinian Arabs, many Muslim. And international law, which was through the British mandate that came out of the war, dictated that a certain geographical part of the country, such as the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, you've probably heard of those, belongs to Palestine.
Okay.
And Palestine being non-Jewish Israel. And, of course, the side with the more power, thanks to buying U.S. weapons and thanks to us giving them $38 billion a year in aid, is, of course, Israel. Now, Israel has not really exported anything to us other than Gal Gadot.
Pretty much.
That's basically their major export.
Took me and I was like, what's a Gal Gadot?
But they buy our guns, our rockets, our planes. They sell us really nothing. So we love them. And they're a partner against other Muslim countries like Iran. So we need this partnership, and we bend over backwards to have these friends in the Middle East. The problem is that whenever there's a conflict like this, whenever Israel decides that Palestinians are getting too many of what they call settlements along the Gaza Strip, whenever the Palestinians are exceeding their rightful bounds, I guess, Israel bombs them back 2 miles farther and occupies them. So the response always seems to me worse than the original sin.
Okay.
So like this week, 20 civilians, including 6 kids, were killed.
Oh, my gosh.
Through return fire. So what's happening is what many are calling, and that's why I'm bringing it up, many are now calling this, and it's creating a huge rift in Congress. They're calling it an apartheid state, where Palestinians are second-class citizens, or not citizens at all. And when you do that, you create what was happening in South Africa between colonial landowners and blacks.
Of course, yeah.
So the way that was ended was through the work of freedom fighters like Mandela, but also through other nations boycotting South Africa, divesting from their businesses, and sanctioning them until they stopped this
And
practice.
what a horrible, horrible, horrible time frame for the people of South Africa.
Yeah. And it was called
heartbreaking.
BDS,
Yeah.
and it worked. So now you may hear the term BDS in regards to Israel, and that is a movement to boycott, divest, and sanction the Israeli occupation of Palestine by attempting to put some economic and political pressure on them, which is tough when every administration, without fail, gives them billions of dollars every year in aid. That's a fact. It's $38 billion this year, and sells them missiles. It's pretty tough to overcome that advantage that Israel has over the Palestinians. But anyway, it's something that we're going to watch closely here at Headlines with Denny the Bull. And I just thought I didn't want anybody to say, oh, it's Headlines with Denny the Bull, but y'all didn't talk about that, did you?
Yeah, well, it's kind of hard. I mean, it's everything happens so quickly, and when you've got stories like this that we don't really know a lot about, and I think I agree. I think it's good to sort of mention it and say, hey guys, we're listeners, we're on it. We're gonna keep up with it, and we'll definitely make sure we talk about it next Sunday.
Like news that you want to do if it's developing the thing, like you said. But it's been that way since '48, and even though it's gone on and off every now and then, it's just re-beginning. But it's still developing, and it's something that we need to talk about because it does affect us here in this country as well.
Oh, sure.
Of what's going on over there, because I mean, like you said, that the government has provided aid to them and everything. So
probably a bigger story is that recently we had a couple politicians who were recognized from Best of Clarksville as being the best politicians in town.
Really?
And I want to call them out here because we like to cover local news, and that is Commissioner Josh Beale was recognized. And I'm going to tell you, Josh Beale, this guy is a social media titan. I mean, every meeting he's like, hey, I'm here. This is what we're talking about. Are you going to come?
Well, him and Jason D. Knight actually were the ones originally when they were campaigning that started with the Facebook Live sort of community forums to where people could ask questions and whatnot.
So
that's
Josh,
good.
Yeah, he won. Kudos. I agree with it. Well deserved. Tricia Butler, whom I supported for her city council seat, she was number 2, I believe, and I think Mayor Pitts was number 3.
Yeah.
So congratulations to them, I think, and all 3 of it, well deserved. When you talked about Jason Hodges, our representative, along with State Senator Bill Powers, who are pushing the open container bill
here in Clarksville,
I just want to tell you a quick story about Jason Hodges, okay?
Yeah. I've been on the Padula show with him, and he's a really nice guy. He really is a nice guy.
When I ran my campaign in 2018 and I got smoked, which I knew I was going to get smoked. Yeah. Like 4 months before I knew the polling, I was going to get smoked. 2
but
to
you
1.
still did it. So,
but I still fought till the end, right?
There you go.
Election night was tough. That was tough because, my God, it was literally hundreds and hundreds of hours. I spent about $24,000 on that. Of my own money.
I was at Republican HQ on the night campaign. That evening, and it was tense.
It was heartbreaking to get crushed as badly as I thought I was gonna. And the one person who called me to say, "Hey, man, you ran a great campaign. Keep your chin up," was Jason Hodges.
I guess he's I don't know him that well. I've just only been on the Joe Padula show with him once or twice, but he's a very nice man.
So I just want to remind everybody that we live in a society where the right believes that abortion is murder and guns are freedom, and the left believes that guns are murder and abortion is freedom. I believe that we may never agree on those 2 issues, but I think we can agree on the other 98% of issues. Let's agree that Ewan McGregor makes a pretty darn awesome Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Well, hello there.
If you know who that is.
Let's agree that we really don't need the Golden Globes anymore.
Nah.
Let's agree that any Yankees sitting out for headaches are not going to replace Derek Jeter or Reggie Jackson in the Hall of Fame anytime soon.
And they're not getting an endorsement from BC Powder.
No.
Let's agree we're all glad to finally take these damn chin diapers off. And let's agree that we all miss movie theater popcorn.
Yes.
There's
nothing like it.
3-point-something shares of AMC stock. So y'all get your butts back in that theater and make me rich.
So let's agree on all these things, and we'll disagree on those other couple. Again, please like, share, and subscribe. Comment your comment in the comments. And for Adam, for Jen, I want to thank you all for watching Headlines with Denny the Bull. See you next week.
Woo.